This is A Few Good Fights, proudly brought to you by the MMA Movement. My name is Noel O'Keefe. That's Robert Palin.
How's it going, Noel?
And the young fella there is Sean Taylor.
Hello.
This is a new MMA podcast, as I said, brought to you by the MMA Movement. Essentially what we are here, we're going to cover MMA from all aspects. We're going to give you the big talking points. We're going to have breakdowns of cards. We're going to talk about cards that have just happened. We're going to have guests on. We're going to have different segments, different arguments, and it's more like a social hub. We want you to feel a part of the show, so comment below. New shows will be available every Tuesday, so if you are on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and do not miss an episode in the future. If you're on audio, you can find us everywhere, iTunes, Podbean, wherever you find your formats, wherever you listen to your podcasts, type in A Few Good Fights and you will find us. So what is the show? What's it about? I'll tell you a little bit about our rundown this week. We'll be talking the big MMA news stories. So this is everything from the week of MMA. We break it down, we have an open discussion, and we just chat away really about it. We have a segment called Fight Your Corner. I'm looking forward to this one. This is where we're going to be given a subject unbeknownst to me and Robert. Sean will give us a subject and we will then pick to see are we pro or con this subject, and we have to argue, and Sean, when the bell rings, makes the decision who is the victor. Then we have Educating Young Sean, which is a piece where young Sean, by his name, you might guess, young Sean, he's young. He's only got into MMA in the last few years, so this is a part where we're going to give him some homework. He's going to go away and he's going to take some work, and he's going to look at some past fights that me and Rob give him. He will also have Sean's Weird Wonderful News. This is where Sean will give us some information or something weird that's happened this week just to try and surprise us. But yeah, a little bit about us, I suppose. Firstly is Rob. What about you? Why are you on a podcast?
Why am I on a podcast? I used to write. I don't write a whole lot anymore, but I used to write quite a bit for a few MMA websites. I got into MMA when I was in college, and I also got into writing at the same time. So I was like, let me just write about MMA. And that's what I did. I wrote loads of stuff. And then eventually I met Noel through work. And
worst day here.
Yeah, one team came to another and we started a podcast, and it used to be called, obviously, Fight Talk. That's gone now. This is our new podcast, new thing. But yeah, essentially I was a bit of a writer. Kind of cut that out now. I just like to talk on the microphone about MMA these days.
It's easier than writing stuff.
It's way easier, yeah. It's less time consuming. Well, debatable.
Myself, I'm a ring announcer, the master of ceremonies, if you like, and I'm also a commentator for shows as well. So I commentate on the likes of I have commentated on the likes of Brave Combat Federation and a few shows here like Clan Wars, Cage Legacy, Celtic Gladiator, stuff like that. So I'm involved in fight game. Most weekends I'm working a fight show in some capacity. Big fan of the sport. I'm the elder statesman of the podcast. Could say I'm in my late 30s, so I am the.
Do say.
I am the elder statements. And Sean, it gives a little bit about you and let the people hear that beautiful accent.
Yeah, I was a boxing fan first, and then sort of started watching MMA once McGregor came about, and then just started watching guys relevant to him and the featherweight division, and then just sort of snowballed from there into cards. And
do you know what I like about Sean? He doesn't hide the fact that he came in through McGregor. There's no problem.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. People try to hide that.
Yeah. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. Like, a lot of good has come from
she could have came in from CM Punk, like. So.
Yeah, I think McGregor brought a new audience to it, but I think he's brought a lot of people who are obviously just his fans. It's a bit like Ronnie O'Sullivan in the snooker. I don't know if a lot of people get that reference, but
yeah, like it's there's no shame in it. Like, I got into MMA ages ago. I think it was like Rich Franklin was one of the first guys I seen fight live. Obviously I went back and watched, but like, tough fans, cool. Yeah. MMA, the McGregor fans, cool. Brock Lesnar fans, cool.
Yeah. Look, we were asked on the old podcast, actually, someone had said in a comment, what moves you from a casual fan to an MMA fan? And I'd be like, I said, well, if we were all once casual fans. We all once found the sport. It's when you start sticking to the sport and enjoying it and investing your time in it. That's when you're a fan. And look, every sport will be nowhere if it wasn't for the casual fans. It's like, to use a football analogy, if you go to see the Republic of Ireland in a standard bog issue game, or your national team, wherever you're from, you'll probably get a ticket. If they qualify for a World Cup or European Championship, you ain't getting a ticket because people jump on the bandwagon. So it's the same in every sport. But yeah, that's how we got into it. So every week we won't be introducing ourselves. We just wanted to give anyone a little bit of a background if you're new to the show. If you listen to, obviously, Fight Talk, you've probably fast forwarded this. But yeah, so
talking shite again.
Yeah, so let's get into it and let's give you a taste and delve back in to what we do. So let's start it with the big MMA news. We are joined by, we're not saying this guy is the best, we're just saying there's nobody better out there. Fight Analyst on his YouTube channel, go and check him out. Some of the best breakdowns ever. We're lucky enough to have him on this show, on previous shows as a regular. As I said, if you don't know him, he's Rogan famous, he's fighter famous, he's worked alongside some of the best, and he's given the best breakdowns on YouTube. We are joined by B to the D, Brendan Dorman. So Brendan, welcome along, my friend, to a few good fights.
Thank you for having me. I think I'm probably blushing. That was a wonderful introduction, Mo. Thank you.
Well, you wouldn't give me that fucking introduction.
Well, he sent me the email.
Yeah.
He sent me the email with everything to say.
Oh, yeah.
So he said, I'm not coming on this show.
You forgot handsome.
Yeah. He said, I'm not coming on the show unless you say all of this. Brandon, UFC went down. UFC 235 went down on Saturday night. I know we want to get through to a few. There was some great fights. Titles changed hands. But let's start at the main event. I want to get your input and your take of what you thought of the John Jones performance against Anthony Smith. Because sometimes John Jones even speaks about it. He has this pressure of he can't just win a fight. Yeah. He has to win a fight in spectacular fashion. So what was your take on the main event?
That was always the knock on GSP, but yet John doesn't get it from the media, so I have no sympathy for him in any regard. But Anthony Smith was not ready for that stage. It just seemed like guys, a guy ranked like 10th usually, like there was just a skill disparity that was just undeniable. Because I think Smith's coaches, minus their between round advice, that was a little weird. But like I think those guys are generally forward looking. They're progressive as coaches. They're kind of the new school. So I think he's well coached. Like they had a plan, but they kind of abandoned it, and he was starstruck, like literally.
Yeah.
He looked starstruck to me. So Jones was just able to do whatever the fuck he wanted. Still couldn't get him out of there. Jones isn't the finisher that people have in their head. But I just wonder, like, who's he? I know they're saying Thiago next for him, but that's another like blah to me. 205 sucks right now. I shouldn't say sucks. That's kind of rough, but like it's thin, man, and that used to be one of the better divisions in sports.
Is it only thin though because John Jones is top of the three? If you like, he's the number one guy.
Who else do you look at 205 and go, that guy is fucking spectacular? Yeah. Like spectacular. I don't mean great. They're all great. Yeah. If you're in the UFC, you're great. You're a great fighter. So I don't want to disparage anyone, but I want to be honest too. Who's great at 205?
Just to revert to Jones for a second, is it not a credit to Jones that the amount of fights you look at John Jones, that he somehow snakes charms his opponents to fight at his tempo, his pace, his style of fight, and shuts them down offensively by them being fearful of what he does? As in, Anthony Smith in the lead up to this spoke about the second Gustafsson fight, saying Gustafsson wanted to stay in boxing range, striking range, and utilise his plan. Jones didn't allow it to happen, and Gustafsson didn't have a second idea of what to do, plan B if you like. So therefore he just stood in front of him. I won't be doing that. I don't fear John Jones. I won't stand in front of him. But yet for 25 minutes Anthony Smith stood in front of John Jones waiting to react to what John Jones was doing.
At John's range too.
Yeah. So is that not
at the beginning of the fight he was punching his frames, So that was smart. Because I know that was going to be Rumble's plan if they ever fought. That's the one we got robbed of. That's the guy. Because he was so powerful. And Jones has, like, when he was hit by Gus, he was, getting a little shaky legged. Rumble hits a lot fucking harder than Alexander Gustafsson. So I think we got robbed of the one guy that maybe could have done it. I just don't see it, man. He's so much bigger. He's clearly allowed to do steroids now. How do you beat that guy? He's giant for his division.
Yeah.
He's a massive dude. He's pissed hot 74 times now, and he's the biggest guy in the division. It almost seems like it's unfair in a way. He's so far ahead. He's lapped them all,
Do you know what the weird thing is?
But his skill set versus like Zabit, is it that much different? When you just look at their movement and pretend they're the same size, is he now looking like so spectacular? Not really. Is there a delay there?
No. The weird thing about the whole division is it's unfortunate because it seems like John Jones is one of the only dominant champions right now that wants to stay in their division and defend their title, but there's just not the guys there. So it's kind of a weird argument people are having that cover the sport, because on one hand they're saying we love when guys want to stay and defend their titles, and then on the other hand they're like, well, we want John Jones to go and fight a heavyweight. And it's kind of like the same people who want people to stay in their division and defend their title are saying the same thing, like, oh, John Jones is, he should go to heavyweight, there's no one there to fight. Which I get, because the two guys now, or the two guys that people are talking about is Johnny Walker, who is definitely too soon. Like he looks great, but he's too soon. And probably Thiago Santos, who again, kind of like Anthony Smith, a guy who done really well at middleweight, but not great, and had to move up to light heavyweight, and is doing well because he has the speed. But is he really going to beat John Jones?
No. My thing though as well, to your point, Brendan, to show how thin the light heavyweight division is, Johnny Walker had that win, and straight away the broadcaster saying this could be the guy to beat John Jones, and you're going, this guy is very raw. He's very he's young. He's only thrown.
I missed that. I didn't even, who said that, Dom?
It was no. You had it was back in the boot. You had Bisbing, Chael, and Ariel talking about it. But like you're there going, credit to Johnny Walker. I thought a crazy stat. He's had 3 UFC fights. In them 3 UFC fights, he's only thrown 27 strikes, and he has 3 knockouts.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Just don't do the warm.
Really.
But it's way too early. He needs to fight the likes of a Gustafsson now. That's probably even too soon, I think. Maybe like an Ozdemir, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, Volkan would be a good fight for him.
Yeah, the likes of that, to see where he is. Because I think you put him in there with John Jones and you're going to get this. I think Anthony Smith, to your point about he didn't belong there, I felt commentary were sort of trying to sell it that he does belong here. I think it may have been too soon for him.
But the thing is, he's been fighting for a long time. And
he's like 70-something.
He's experienced. That's his, like, he's reached his peak, and that's not a bad thing. He's very, very good, but he's reached his peak. Isn't he? Yeah, but he's had, like, how many fights has he had? I don't see him improving leaps and bounds too much more. He's so experienced.
Like, he has like 13 losses.
Yeah,
and he's on a good run.
He was on a good run.
He's so like 38 and 13 or something. Like,
he definitely deserved it. I mean, he deserved to be in there based on.
I didn't mean he didn't deserve it though, Rob.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I just meant the way it appeared to my eyes.
No, I get what you mean. As in, it doesn't matter who went in there with John Jones. It seems like all light heavyweights probably don't look like they should be in there with him. And that's not a bad thing saying on them. It's just that he's so much better than them right now, and it's unfortunate.
He is, but it's a weak division because no one else looks all that great. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Gustafsson, I guess, against like Teixeira looked really good, but Rumble fucking destroyed him.
Yeah.
You know? I hate the. I'm partial. You know, I know Rumble.
You do have to wonder though in your question, because if somebody else was a champion there right now and John Jones just didn't exist, so you had Gustafsson a champion and he was having competitive fights with all these guys, we'd probably be thinking something completely different. We're probably like, well, it's a really strong division, but because you have somebody who's so good,
I think John Jones suffers a little bit of the Anderson Silva epidemic, where he dominates his division so much that everybody was constantly calling for Anderson to go up and have super fights, etc.
And then DC comes down and he beats him.
Who did Anderson beat that was like a Hall of Famer? You know,
Rich Franklin, I guess, would have been a Hall of Famer at the time.
Well, at the time, at the time, Rich Franklin was
the dominant,
and he came out and absolutely destroyed him twice.
Or was the division weak?
He beat Chris Lieben.
Yeah,
we're talking legends here, yeah. Co-main event. I gotta say,
sorry, I can't lie. I
gotta say, I didn't see this coming. I seen it being a tough fight for Tyron Woodley, but do you know what? Tyron Woodley looked like Conor McGregor under Khabib Nurmagomedov. He had a 1,000-yard stare, as in, how the fuck do I get out of here? And Usman was just, he dominated every minute
of
that fight.
Phenomenal.
Incredible performance, and to think,
incredible.
To think as well that people were talking about Woodley, and I'm not shitting on Woodley here. People were talking about Woodley as being the GOAT, the best ever to do it at welter.
That's over.
And to be then beaten in such a dominant fashion. He's calling for a rematch. He just got beat for 25 minutes from bell to bell. If Usman had come out and, let's say, caught him with a shot in the opening minute or two, you might go, look, he deserves it. He was caught. He was dominated. There wasn't a minute, it wasn't 10 seconds in that fight that you felt Woodley was going to win this.
He almost landed like 2 right hands. Almost.
What do you think it was, though? Didn't he not look the same? Like, I know you had said, well, Rob, when we were talking about this earlier, that, you know, he fights like that. He fights on the back foot, sort of backing up against the cage. But against Kamaru
Usman, looked identical to every fight.
But that's not how you fight
Usman. Work against Usman. That's all.
But he didn't.
No one's a wrestler. No one. So he fought him like he fought Rory, right? And those are 2 guys that can exploit that weakness of backing up to the fence. He's gotten away with it for like 4 or 5 fights in a row, where he's looked great with his back against the fence, especially with Till, right?
Yeah.
But Usman is a pressure guy that's longer with wrestling that, let's be honest, MMA wrestling-wise looked much better than Tyron's. It just did. After that elbow in the second round where they were hand fighting against the fence, and he got his wrist control down, to then turn it over into that elbow against the fence. So he just snapped that from all the way down and blind, hit it with his head. He was putting a lot of chin pressure on him, and all of a sudden it just boom. Fast elbow, and then he followed that up with that ridiculous reversal takedown where he kind of picked him up like a lateral drop almost.
Yep.
Dude, from then on, I'm like, holy fuck. Because he's not going to get tired, man.
Doesn't it ring through? Remember he said I fought it like it was something like 30% or something. I can't remember what the percentage was. And he won. He's like, oh, I only fought at 30%. And everyone gave him fucking dog shit for that. Everyone gave it out so much. Then he comes out and puts on a performance like that. And it's insane to think how quick you... Not flip-flop, because flip-flop is the wrong... I knew this was going to be a tough fight, but I wasn't expecting this. But then you look at it, and my thoughts after watching that fight was, who the fuck is going to beat this guy? Like, who the fuck is going to beat this guy? And in a weird way, silver lining, I'd say there's a little bit of Ben Askren who's going, ooh, this move to the UFC just got very fucking interesting.
Yeah.
Marty.
Marty from Nebraska.
Fuck me up. Dude, because Lawler, you know, it looked good up until that controversy or whatever. Like, he had his moments. It was interesting, I guess.
But we'll come on that for a minute. But what do you put Woodley's performance down to? Because he looked gun-shy. Did he just...
I just think it was Kamaru Usman's performance.
Yeah,
I just think it was. I think...
Just make that the talking point.
Yeah, I think it was...
I don't want it to be what Woodley didn't do. I want the talking point to be what Usman did do.
Yeah.
But what do you think Woodley didn't do?
It kind of takes away from the talent of the guy that did so...
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the best fucking performances.
Oh, it's unbelievable. There's stats on it. You had stats, did you, Rob, about the domination
Woodley's
or something?
Terrifying. He's so fast. 2-time All-American, maybe 3-time All-American in wrestling. Black belt in jiu-jitsu. Not one punch. Like, he's a one-hitter quitter of a puncher with leg kicks that have ended fights. I mean, he's very, very dangerous and a super athlete on top of it. But Usman's like this next thing. He was longer, stronger, faster, better cardio. So athletically, what Tyron usually has the advantage in, he probably didn't there. Usman is fucking terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying.
Poor Colby. Oh,
jeez, that's a bad fight.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing Usman beat the shit out of Colby Covington.
Yeah. Poor Colby, that nice guy.
Yeah.
He's gonna get fucked up.
I can't wait to see.
Did you see them fighting Usman and they got into a scuffle at the buffet in Vegas, a back and forth trash talking, and then Ali Abdelaziz threw a punch at Colby Covington. I just said this to somebody on Twitter this morning or whatever. The thing with Ali is he's unlikable. I don't like the guy. I have nothing nice to say about him. But what he does is he's very good to his guys. Like, he gets on the mats and he grapples and all that shit. But what's the problem with that is the guys that aren't his fighters, he has this delusion that he's a fighter. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
All of his guys
like,
seem
listen, I don't like John Jones personally, and that's no secret, right? Everyone knows that knows me. And this goes back, like, literally 10 years. Yeah. Now, with that said, do I think I could, like, fight him? No, he'd fuck my world up. Like, I have no chance. So I haven't confused the two. Yeah. Ali seems to have.
Yeah, but that's what happens. He's walking around in circles with fighters, and he thinks, it's like the gang mentality, you know?
It's just pussy mentality. Yeah. I went to high school with too many kids like that, that like had tough friends, so they thought they were then tough. Yeah. And it was like, I would fucking smash you if you didn't have 6 friends with you. I'm alone,
here.
You know?
But yeah, cause so they have said Colby Covington's next until somebody better comes along, obviously. But Colby Covington is next for Kamaru Usman. So
I pray to God.
I see this similar. I see him beating the shit out of him, and I actually see him making him go 25 minutes to beat the shit out of him for them 25 minutes.
Because it's legit heat.
Yeah.
The Askren Usman thing isn't legit. They don't hate each other.
Yeah.
No.
Askren's just brilliant.
I think they kind of like each other.
Yeah.
Askren's just a fucking brilliant troll.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's hilarious.
He's very good at what he does, like in a lot of senses. Yeah. I don't think Kamaru hates him at all. I think he thinks it's kind of funny. Yeah. He hates Colby. That's legit. Yeah. That's heat.
What did we think? Talking about Askren, what did we think of the finish?
Okay, here's my take. Was Lawler going to get out?
It's impossible to say, but it didn't look like it. He could have slammed him, but he probably would have put himself further in.
When you go from defending like this, so that
it was the way the arm fell for me.
The way the arm fell. Yeah.
The way the arm fell.
I understand stopping it. Was it right 100%. At 75 different angles, slowed down to an eighth speed, and all? I don't know, man. Fucking, I don't know.
But that's the funny thing about it, Brendan.
I don't know what was going on.
That's the very funny thing.
Here's how I can sit on it and just go, okay, I can live with the result. I don't think Robbie was getting out, so he was going to sleep anyway.
What I found funny about it was you'd Rogan, you'd Cruz, they were all screaming, he's out, and then after they've seen 150 replays, they were like, terrible stoppage here.
Yeah, like there's a couple of ways and a couple of problems. Is that like we weren't in there, as Dan would say, so we didn't see his eyes, we didn't do all that. But from like our perspective, from the commentator's perspective, in that moment, people said he was gone. So I don't blame Herb Dean for making the decision. Now, if he picked up his hand and he wasn't limp, then that's a problem. But we don't know that. Like Robbie Lawler said, he put his thumbs up and stuff like that. Yeah, you can kind of see it. So like, exactly.
It wasn't like this.
But that's what I'm saying. From our perspective, from our perspective, looking out and looking at it and what the commentator's seeing, it looked like it should have been stopped. Yes. But then afterwards, then it looked like Robbie Lawler was still there. That was the problem. But in the moment,
who was it? Was it a Darce show a couple of months back? And
the thumbs up.
He was out, and the ref stopped it, and he jumped up going, what the fuck you stopped the fight for? What was that? And you remember the poor referee, it was in New York.
I remember this one.
It was in New York, and remember the referee went out to look at the...
Chiesa was kind of similar.
Yeah,
but remember the referee...
That might have been it.
The referee in New York went out to look at the
fight. Oh, he was sweating.
And the whole arena was looking at him making this decision.
Yeah, and he was like...
Bruce Buffer was stood over him going, what's the call here? What's the call? And he must have watched
and he's like, just give it to me one more time.
Yeah, one more time.
I don't remember that.
But, for me, 100%, I can see why Herb Dean stopped it. The hand dropped. For me, it was the way the hand fell. And it didn't just go... It went limp, but it hit the canvas.
Yeah, it was like when someone gets knocked out and their head hits the canvas.
Yes, that's exactly what it's like.
Let's talk about Zabit.
If you look at his eyes when he gets up to talk, they're squirrely.
Yeah.
They're still squirrely. It's kind of... Did you guys see the Ngannou Kane thing I did?
I didn't see it yet.
I literally changed like 150 people's minds on why that fight ended the way it did. You guys are not subscribed to me.
I am subscribed.
Kane's knee blew out. That's what it was, wasn't it?
You did watch it.
But before we move on to talk about Zabit...
We don't even have to talk about that.
But before we move on to Zabit, what did we think of Ben Askren on the mic going, Dana, is
hilarious.
that the best you've got?
Hilarious.
After just getting hammered.
Yeah.
Like, how... kudos for Askren first. How he stayed in the fight is beyond me. Like, he was done, and he just somehow, like,
genius.
Just went into wrestling mode and got the finish. And as I said on Twitter, Brendan, as you know, because you liked it and retweeted it, thank you, my friend, was... you got to give Ben Askren credit. It wasn't his fault Herb Dean stopped the fight. He got in there. He done his job. He survived what would drop and kill. Like at one stage, Robbie Lawler, after landing all the shots, you could see Robbie Lawler looking at Ben Askren going, "How are you still here?" It was fucking insane.
Did we see Ben Askren duck Dana's handshake at the weigh-in as well?
Yeah, he said he didn't see it or something. Ben
didn't want her anyway.
Yeah, Ben.
But
he ixnayed a handshake.
Yeah, so apparently Dana put his hand out, didn't he?
Yeah, it was at the weigh-in. It was the ceremonial, and Ben walked up to weigh-in after weighing in, and Dana had his hand out. They were talking, and Ben Askren's just looking straight ahead and never shook his hand. And then Dana in his
He's the only guy with the fucking balls.
Yeah, Dana in his post-fight presser was asked about it, and he said, "No, I don't remember putting my hand out to shake it."
Oh, he's so embarrassed about it.
Of course,
Leave bollocks, Dana.
He has to play.
But Ben, give me a minute to fucking make me point, will you?
I thought your point was done.
No, it wasn't done. But like Ben Askren's a weird one, isn't it? Because he comes out with the win, but I think credit has to go to Robbie Lawler to how he took the win. Like he jumped up, disputed, and then shook Herb's hand and was like, right, understand. We never actually said that.
Fair play to Robbie Lawler.
For while we were on the fair play buzz, fair play to Anthony Smith. He could have easily taken a DQ and been the champion of the heavyweight champion.
Good point.
Yeah. So absolutely fair play to him. That's probably cost himself a couple of $1 million.
I would have stepped down.
But it was fucking admirable. He'll be remembered for good things.
But yeah, let's talk about Zabit. Brendan, the floor is yours. I believe you were impressed.
Okay, so I'm surprised they gave any rounds to Stevens. Yeah. One was a little close, but Zabit is exactly what I knew he would be. Clearly, Jeremy Stevens is a fucking killer, and he was swinging with everything he had, and he looked so in shape and fresh and game planned, but he was confused quite a few times, especially on the ground. I wish the one thing with Zabit that kind of worries me is he doesn't have, people want to make him like Khabib with striking, and his grappling is not at all Khabib's. No, he's not guaranteed to get you down. You know what I'm saying? Like Khabib gets on a single, he's probably getting you to the ground, right? Even on a single, which isn't a double, right? It's less. You only have one leg. Zabit's more of a Greco, using his length, kind of like Usman was with the clinch, but he's using his length to then clasp hands and play like kind of a Greco drag and pull way on your game, right? But his striking, creativity, switch stances, agility, who's next for him? Aldo? I don't know.
He said he wants somebody in the top 10.
That'd be fun, actually. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, Stevens is 5 or 6, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got to be somebody top 4.
Moicano, or do you go like Aldo? Do you go up?
I think you have to go up. I think, especially someone coming off a win.
Ortega or Aldo.
Ortega could be the fight.
Yeah, maybe.
Ortega's interesting. I think that's his toughest fight unless you include Max. But I think Max is going to stay at 155.
There's no bad fights for him in the top 5.
You can see him when he starts to enjoy himself.
I think he'll have a belt by the end of this year, if not early next year.
Yeah.
You can tell when he's enjoying himself when he starts running up the cage wall like an absolute lunatic and like literally he looks like something from Street Fighter. His footwork is phenomenal.
He's so incredible.
The amount of times Jeremy Stevens thought he had him trapped and thought eventually cornered you, and he just, without even missing a beat, and he's gone and he's away, and like, Jeremy Stevens has wasted so much energy to try and get him to that point, and every time he would throw, he'd just fade away and get out of there with his footwork. Phenomenal. It was absolute joy to watch.
One thing when I rewatched it, guys, I just quick bring up. Dom kept saying, Dom's been kind of letting me down lately, if I'm being honest, but he said, it's just footwork. He just kept saying it's footwork, and I know that's his teammate, and I know he's not going to throw him under the bus. But if you watch, the big difference to me was accuracy of strikes, for sure, length, of course, the obvious, but defense, striking defense, and we're seeing it with Israel Adesanya for sure, and now we're seeing it with Zabit, and he's got sort of a wrestling heavy game too, if he wants to be. But he would do these things where he was standing southpaw and he's keying off movement at Stevens and throwing that zero sell or tell left, and it was right on the button, right? And then whenever he tried to counter strike, he'd either whiff or his hand would be back in time. So Stevens only landed clean not many times with shots where he went ooh.
Yeah.
There's only 1 or 2 of those, whereas the beat landed quite a few. Hit him with a fucking tornado kick in the middle of the second. Yeah. It's incredible. Then he went Showtime from that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. An animal. He's a savage.
Yeah. Before we move on, I just want to touch on one last fight before we let you go, Brandon. Cody Garbrandt, Pedro Munoz.
Oh, yeah.
For me,
funny story, but go ahead.
When I watched it, I thought that Cody has since said it was the headbutt that caused him, but I thought his knee got a little jacked with the kicks, the low calf kicks that Pedro was landing. But I think he said, to me, it looked like he'd injured his knee. He wasn't putting his leg down right, and it was like he decided, I'm gonna have to bite down on my gum shield and try to get this win and get Pedro out of here now. But isn't he a gunslinger now who should be not slinging guns?
Yes.
He should be using technical striking like this. The way he fought Cruz, that's how he should be fighting. He's coming in here and going into absolutely crazy.
He looked like a really different fighter in the Cruz fight. I haven't seen him fight like that. Even before the Cruz fight, I didn't really see him fight like that. He was slick in that fight. He was really slick. And he's had so much success with this crazy style where he just throws down in the center. Yeah. But TJ figured him out. And TJ has shown everybody else what to do. And it was almost the exact same combination. Trading hooks and then gets caught. It's a problem.
But
it's a problem.
So, but what did you think, Brendan, of the? To me, it looked like he just changed his game plan with a minute or so left in the round.
He got hurt, didn't he?
So funny story how it played out for me. I watched it and I was like, Jesus, I was like disappointed. Like, fucking Christ, this guy just won't fix it. And as I'm like just thinking that, of course, my buddy Elijah I brought up before calls. I see fucking phone call, and I don't usually answer my calls during fights at all. But for him, I'll answer. So I picked up, and he's like, "Answer the fucking phone!" Like, not to me, meaning Cody still is not answering the phone when he throws a fucking hook.
Yeah.
Dude, you gotta fix that.
Yeah.
We're 4 fights now. You've had to fix a fucking a thing I teach to beginners to fix.
But
like,
is that his coach's fault as well? Because coaches not beyond that and being like, they literally tie his fucking arm.
Maybe. If I have 3 months with Cody, can I get him to fix that? Is he stubborn?
Maybe, yeah.
Right? Is he a just street fighter at heart that happens to be so talented that he's gotten far in MMA? I don't know the answers to those because I don't know Cody, you know? But how do you not fix it? You guys got to understand, like, that's a dangerous punch even if it's tight, right? This is with my hand here. He throws it here. Look at how many openings I have. And I put a little arch on it. Now I got more. It's just, this is a vulnerable fucking punch. It's like, remember you brought up Till's leading with the uppercut, and I was explaining how when Conor was throwing the corkscrew, it's different because he's breaking center line, it's a little safer, et cetera, et cetera. I could nerd out for an hour about it. But answering a phone when you throw hooks, when you throw a left hook, your hand's pinned every time. It's pinned to your face here. It's like Rampage versus Vanderlei Silva. I brought this up before. One threw it correctly, one didn't. One got knocked out, one was fine. Right? Because it was
Carlos Condit, Dan Hardy.
Yes. Another good one.
Thank you.
Yep.
Nice.
We're talking like basics. And he's Robert Folis or something? Whatever the name of his uncle is that boxed is one of the striking coaches. For him to not see it makes me think, no, he sees it and Cody's not fixing it.
Yeah, you'd wonder. Yeah, it's probably like a bad habit that he picked up and he just can't. Just can't lose it.
He gets mad. It's like he gets angry.
Yeah, he gets.
And he was hurt as well. So
he was
brawls, but he's not that technical a brawler.
Yeah.
You know, not with those kind of mistakes. Anyway.
It's a weird one because you go from Cody Garbrandt after he beat TJ, or Dom Cruz. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is the next guy who's going to dominate." Blah, blah,
blah. He looks like a world beater.
And now he's on like a 3-fight skid, and he's in trouble. His chin is gone. Like his chin, like he cannot get into these fights.
Yeah,
he cannot get into these fights. So he has to adopt his game. He has to do.
He has to
different
change
things.
it.
So it's
he needs to change it.
And it used to be if you lose 3 fights in the UFC, you were already gone.
And as well, you can say TJ. Fair enough. TJ Dillashaw caught him. But Pedro Munoz, decent striker, but he's a grappler. He's a better grappler than he is striker for sure. And he gets caught with that shot. So problem.
I didn't think that would be the end result at all. But
well, when the firefight started, I was 100%. I was like, Garbrandt's gone down.
Yeah,
you could just foresee it. I've seen it before.
He did have an advantage. He was hurt badly. Well, not badly.
I mean,
but
it was almost identical to TJ too.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
The right hand. One person's going off center line with their head and defending this side of their body as they come in. Like I'm telling you guys, that's if I hold mitts for you, here I have mitts. Right? If I'm holding these fucking things for you, like I'm gonna correct that right away as a pad holder. That guy hits mitts every fucking day.
Yeah.
Who's not correcting it? It's odd to me when you've been a champion in the UFC and you haven't fixed a 1-on-1 like a day fucking 8 thing. It
reminded quite funny because Sean Sheehan from
it's like not knowing what guard is, you know.
Sean Sheehan from Severe MMA put up a tweet before the last Team Alpha Male saying who's the head coach of Team Alpha Male now, and Conor McGregor retweeted it by saying I am. So I'm sure he had some joy out of seeing that as well with the history with Team Alpha Male. But it's a weird one, and Cody finds himself in a very precarious position in the UFC now. Like his next fight is potentially the biggest fight of his career, and I include a world title. I always allude to, I was saying this today, that I always say to people, it's hard to get to the top into the fighting game, but it's harder to stay there. And I used to use Johnny Hendricks as the advertisement for that. He got it to the top, and then when he got there, he couldn't stay. And he said, "Look at him, he fights with no gloves on now."
Yeah.
You should appreciate what George did.
Yeah. So now you look at Cody Garbrandt, the same guy. He reached the heights of champion, and since then he's just come down. So he's in a tough predicament. But
you almost feel for the guy because I don't dislike him as a person.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's true. Seems like a nice guy.
So Brendan, thanks a million for joining
Loyal.
us.
I admire loyalty. You know, he's very loyal to his people.
Yeah,
I admire that about him at least.
Sure, with Dwayne.
Yeah. Well, Brendan, appreciate it for your time. If anybody wants to...
I fucking missed the shit out of you, motherfucker.
Yeah, I know.
Miss you too, man.
Been too long. People are listening to this going, what do you mean you missed them?
Yeah.
It's all news.
There used to be an old podcast.
Yeah, go on YouTube right now and press pause on this. If you're watching on YouTube, press pause. If you're listening on audio, sure, keep listening because you can do two things at the same time. Multitask. Go on to YouTube and type in Brendan Dorman. Hit subscribe, hit notifications, and get yourself learned. Brendan, pleasure, my man.
Thank you, brother, as always.
So moving along, Dana White has said that Daniel Cormier will get the Brock Lesnar fight. Interestingly, this obviously came after John Jones has said post-fight that he would be interested in fighting Brock Lesnar because it's the biggest risk and the biggest gain fight.
Yeah.
And this is the man who said he wouldn't fight DC at heavy. But we had sort of spoke previously about between ourselves, just sort of saying it's gone very quiet in the old Brock Lesnar front. But Dana White bringing it back up and saying that DC's getting it. So, question to you: is it the right fight? And does that rule out the trilogy with John Jones?
The right fight now, like it's not the right fight. There's no way to say it's the right fight unless you want to say is it the right fight for Daniel Cormier. As in for him personally, maybe because it's the most money
is it right
he could potentially make.
For Daniel, right, to your point, talking across you, but I'm doing it deliberately.
Sure.
So you could argue business-wise
for Cormier.
the UFC as well, though.
Yeah, probably. I'd say Jones and Cormier heavyweight could do really good business. Probably not even too far off Lesnar because I don't think Lesnar's damaged goods, but I do think the kind of the intrigue of Lesnar from a few years ago is gone a little bit. He'll still bring over those fans.
Even now with the likes of Ronda in the WWE and stuff like that.
Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I feel that way. That the kind of intrigue has gone a little bit. But he did come in and he did beat Mark Hunt. Of course, he was on some Mexican supplements, so there was probably a little bit of an assistance there. But yeah, I think it's the right fight business-wise for Cormier because he's leaving the game soon. It's the biggest fight you could potentially get aside from John Jones. In terms of the division, no, like
what's the best fight in the division?
Stipe rematch, but he got finished fairly handily. So yeah, probably Stipe rematch.
To my point though, I think Stipe deserves the rematch because he was the most decorated in the defended it the most times.
Yeah. Although Francis is an interesting one. He has 2 wins now.
Yeah.
And he hasn't lost to Daniel Cormier. I think that's a good one too.
It is a good one.
But I'm still skeptical whether Brock Lesnar will fight in the UFC because he signed that new deal with the WWE. Seems to be making quite a bit of money.
I think there's a going fight for them sort of thing, isn't there?
Yeah, no, there is. I don't mean that's going to stop it. I just mean he signed that for a reason. He's probably getting more money than he used to get.
He's doing what Real Madrid players do when they're out of contract.
Of course,
they
smart.
say, I'm going to go and play for Manchester United. Here's a new contract.
I don't know if any of you watched Dana's press conference. So he was asked about Jones saying he'd like to fight the likes of Brock, and he was pretty adamant that Jones is going to he wants to make the Thiago Santos fight.
Yeah.
And he said that he owes DC a lot, and that's why he's getting the Lesnar fight. But obviously, Dana doesn't do matchmaking after fights.
Yeah.
You really have a problem with
that. I think Dana's a shithouse. Like.
Yeah.
That's him never getting on this podcast. Jesus Christ.
But it's business wise the best fight for Daniel Cormier, and it's I said it like before when we spoke about this with anyone I speak to, like I don't think Brock Lesnar is. I think his style, he could beat Daniel Cormier like a rhino, like running through a fucking window. Do you know what I mean?
But how though?
Just his brute size and strength. Paul Heyman might throw in a chair or something, and
nice.
But it's not. I'd like because I'm a purist. I'd like Stipe, or as you said, Francis Ngannou was back in that.
I just wish
about heavyweight, isn't it? Ngannou, everyone was shitting on Ngannou.
I think it's to be honest, I'd love Stipe to get a rematch, but I think it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense now because of how long it's gone, and Daniel Cormier fought since. I don't think it makes sense. I think Stipe needs to fight again now.
I think if Stipe gets a win, give it to him.
But the whole thing was Stipe was willing to take the Derek Lewis spot, and DC said, "I'm not fighting you on this short notice." So
fair enough.
Stipe made himself available, so it wasn't his fault the fight wasn't given.
DC sort of said the only way he was fighting at that short notice was Derek Lewis.
Yeah,
and I think that made sense. Yeah. It was a style that he was comfortable in beating.
Yeah.
Now I know what you're all thinking.
What's this?
There's no interim titles out there.
Yeah.
There's none. Not one interim title. Yes, Colby Covington walks around with a belt that is cheap and tarnished, unlike the hired women that walk around with him. But UFC 236 will be headlined by a pair of interim titles, Rob.
Yeah.
We have
What are
got
they?
Max Holloway taking on Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
And we've got Kelvin Gastelum taking on Israel Adesanya.
So lightweight and middleweight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interim.
Interim.
I get the Kelvin Gastelum one.
Yeah,
I
same.
get that one. Right, I do get that one. But Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier. Now, funny, because when Conor McGregor fought Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight title, nobody had a problem with it. Nobody sort of went, yeah, you know, Conor, he deserves it, he's doing so much. I don't know. But he's done so much. And, you know, obviously, you know, Conor McGregor fans are very, you know, the guy can do nothing wrong. And he got the title fight, got in there, and he blew Eddie Alvarez. For me, Conor McGregor's best ever performance in a cage that night. But Max Holloway moving up against Dustin Poirier for the considering Tony Ferguson. Why isn't Tony Ferguson in the conversation?
Tony toned it down, apparently.
Tone it down.
But you know, Poirier was due to fight Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz done what the Diaz brother does. Doesn't fight. So obviously Dustin was injured for that, so it's a little harsh on Nate in that sense. But Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier,
harsh,
is it the right
Sorry,
fight
Nate.
for the interim?
See, I do agree with the Adesanya one in a way because like it's an injury. It seems like he's got Robert Whittaker's going to be out for a while, so yeah.
And Gastelum was ready to go.
And
He was
ready
in
to go.
Australia with stuff in his face, ready to go.
I'm not hugely against the other one, which is surprising because I don't really like interim titles for the most part. But Khabib said he's not going to fight until November. And there's no, like, it seems like there's no injury there. It's just like I don't want to fight until November or have like all this kind of stuff. And
What about
plus
stripping?
it's a suspension.
Yeah. What about-
Could strip him.
Because
that's the
another
reason.
thing, wasn't
That's
it?
the reason why I don't really. Yeah, I don't think they should strip him because he says
No.
he will fight. But
Yeah.
the reason why
It's
I
not in Las
don't
Vegas.
disagree with it too much is because we know he's going to be out for this length of time. It's
Yeah.
going to be at minimum November. So to get that division going, I think bringing in an interim title makes sense in this case. And it's weird to say because for the most part they don't make sense. But in this case, bring it in because Khabib saying I'm going to fight in November. What happens if he gets injured? Then bring in an interim title in November and have the kind of division stopped for months. So I kind of agree with it. Why not?
Max Holloway,
Generally hate
Dustin
them.
Poirier, is it the right fight
Yeah,
though?
I don't know.
That wasn't my question. Interim is more so, is that
Okay.
the right fight for it?
Poirier, yeah. Max Holloway, if he's coming up and he wants to stay at lightweight, if this is his debut, he's a champion. Yeah, I
missed
agree
the
with
memo. Ferguson turned down Holloway.
Ferguson.
interim title. Probably
I don't know if he turned
Holloway.
down-
Yeah, Holloway.
So why wasn't it Poirier and Ferguson?
So I guess, remember Dana was talking about him wanting Holloway to go up.
Yeah.
I guess the whole point is Holloway, go up. You're a champion. You've been dominant at your weight.
In fairness,
Here's a title shot. Here's a title
fairness
shot.
to Holloway as well. He took the Khabib fight on short notice,
Oh, yeah.
and just what happened. That was mad.
Yeah. But I do agree. Like, I mean, like, I don't think Max Holloway doesn't deserve it. As in,
Oh, yeah, I'm
I
not
think he
saying-
has
yeah.
the body of work to deserve it. But if they potentially could have made Poirier versus Ferguson, then yes. But
Yeah.
it seems like they wanted to make Ferguson versus Holloway anyway.
Yeah.
And Ferguson turned it down.
I
I know why he turned it down because he
Yeah.
just got stripped of an interim title.
I think
don't
Ferguson
mean a
kind
whole
of
lot.
got stuck a bit like Colby said and turned down a fight, and then Dana said, "Well, fuck you."
Yeah, the big thing the big thing in the UFC is that if you don't take a fight, if you're not ready to take a fight, they're not going to be loyal to your claim on a title.
I think Poirier Ferguson would have been the fight to make, and then when one of them, if they become the champion, whoever wins that fight was to fight Holloway coming up. Then I just think there should be a lightweight as the champion that he's fighting.
Well,
I think I know he's moving up to lightweight, but
Por-
he should be defending. He should be fighting someone who's defending a belt. It
If
shouldn't be a
Poirier and
vacant.
Ferguson are fighting and they're fighting for an interim belt, do they then defend the interim belt against
That
Max?
can happen, yeah.
Yeah.
That has
That
happened.
has
The
happened,
interims
yeah.
have been
Yeah.
defended.
Here's the thing, though.
Well,
right?
technically, was Conor McGregor defending his interim title when he fought
Yeah.
Jose Aldo?
Yeah.
So do you agree with an interim title at lightweight right now? If Khabib's saying I'm not going to fight till November, and then you have the potential.
Yeah,
of
I've no
injury
problem with it. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So now you get to the point where what's the matchup? So you say Holloway's coming up. So let's disregard Holloway there. But if you say Poirier, yeah,
I think it has to be Tony Ferguson.
And Tony Ferguson, right? But Tony Ferguson has said, I don't want to fight for an interim title. So what do you do now? So I know like it's a different scenario because they're already bringing Holloway up. But the problem doesn't seem to be that Ferguson doesn't want to fight Holloway. It seems to be he doesn't want to fight for an interim title. Probably because he got stripped of his interim title after falling over the table.
You got to look at it. Interim title. I've said this for a long time about interim titles. Interim titles are just a number one contender belt.
Yeah, because you can just take them off. Yeah,
and like,
they're possibly a number one contender. But if they decide you're not number one,
yeah, well, look, Colby is a number one. Like Colby turned down Usman for an interim, wasn't it? Was it for an interim?
No, he turned down Woodley. Yeah, he wasn't ready.
Yeah, so he turned down. So he turned down, and he's still walking around with his belt and cheap hookers and
mid-range apparently.
Oh, they're very cheap looking.
I didn't see them.
I swear to God, I'll be asking for money back. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
I'm going to jump in though on the interim things. I think they're two great fights. I think they're more than good enough without interim titles to stand alone as a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So fuck the interim titles.
Yeah, but like it's like I don't get invested in some fights just because there's a title on the line.
Exactly,
I think the best thing to come out of these two fights having interim is that they're both going to be 5-rounders.
Do you know what I wonder if they have data on that. Like, do they have data on, we've had these fights, no interim title, and these fights with interim, and it has to be more pay-per-view? I guess they do.
They probably do have metrics.
Do you know what the stupidest argument against this is? And I'm pretty sure Ariel Helwani said this before. He was like, oh, well, look, some of the biggest fights of all time have been non-title fights, like McGregor and Diaz. You can't compare McGregor and Diaz to anything.
But I think when you
can't compare him with McGregor.
Kimbo Slice and Dada 5000 wasn't for a title fight, was it?
Two fights like that at the top of a pay-per-view card, I think it's more than fine to leave them without belts. Like,
in fairness, talking about belts, and I'm sorry I apologise for bringing this up on episode 1 of A Few Good Fights. A belt was put in the line for fucking Mayweather and McGregor, for fuck's sake.
The money belt.
The prestige. The prestige.
The worst bit about that was like
he's just proper brought me to Step Brothers there. Prestige worldwide.
The worst bit about that
Catalina
was
wine mixer.
Any boxing fans, the WBC sanctioned that belt as well. That was the worst
bit.
Did they? They paid for that belt. Like, yeah, that was the worst bit of that.
Joke.
Awful. We have a new Cage Warriors middleweight champion. The student of the former Cage Warriors middleweight champion James Webb won the title on Saturday night in London. He won it by a third round head and arm triangle. James Webb is a Londoner, and he's moved over and was basically living in SBG Swords.
Yeah.
And Chris Fields, who of course held this title, he's been, Chris is well known in Ireland. He's fought on he was the Cage Warriors champion. He went through tough. He's fought on the likes of Bama and KSW, and he's well known, but as a fighter. But Chris Fields is turning into one of the most sought out coaches now.
Yeah, big time.
SBG Sarge is producing that, and I always say to Chris jokingly, what's in the water out there? What's in the water out there? And some way, I was only thinking about this. I messaged Chris literally when James got the tap. I messaged Chris just to say congratulations, coach, and like I was like, by saying what's in the water out there is almost disrespectful in some ways. You mean it as a compliment and a joke.
Yeah.
But Tom King and Chris Fields are doing incredible things out in SBG Swords. The likes of young Ian Gary, who made his Cage Warriors debut and won in devastating fashion over a very tough opponent than James Sheehan there from Team Rhino. But James Webb is something that Chris talks about. He's one of these guys, he's just a normal bloke who just has that work ethic and dedication. A big win from James, obviously fighting in London in front of his hometown as well. So a big win. And what I loved about what James Webb said after the fight, he said that you're not really the champion until you defend it.
Yeah.
And
it's a good mentality to have, isn't it? It's almost like, I like when guys, like even John Jones this past weekend, when he took a step back from his performance, said, maybe I didn't do the right thing here, or maybe I didn't, put on the performance I should have done this, I should have went left when I went right, that type of thing. And it's kind of a similar thing. It's like, I've had some success, but I want to prove my success, and I did think that was a good thing.
It's something as well, the Cage Warriors title. When you look at who's held the title and where they've gone after that, it's something that Cage Warriors we spoke about push that
like unless something like pretty bad happens to James Webb, and obviously touchwood
his next defense or something. He's UFC bound.
He's UFC bound. He's on the he's on the highway to UFC.
He's on the peripheral.
Yeah,
being signed by the
yeah.
Ultimate Fighting Championship. But yeah, incredible work, Chris Fields. Keep it up. You and Tom King are doing wonders. Clan Wars the weekend, they got another title, the amateur Clan Wars title. Carl Gallagher, stunning performance by Carl up in Belfast on Saturday. Just staying on Cage Warriors, Rhys McKee. If you haven't watched this fight,
it's on Fight Pass.
Go on it. It's on Fight Pass. Sean, you've subscribed.
I have.
Get the people on Fight Pass, Sean. Cage Warriors is on Fight Pass. Go and check out the Rhys McKee fight. It's not a stereotypical Rhys McKee fight, because Rhys is an excellent technical striker. This turned into a slobber knocker brawl to where Perry
JR would have been proud of it.
Perry was spewing blood from his nose. It looked like he had potentially broken nose, and they were slipping all over the canvas. It was just a crazy wild fight, and then Keane got a sort of adapted guillotine choke in the third round to get the finish. But an incredible performance. I messaged Rhys. I know Rhys a long time. I messaged Rhys just straight after as well. I was on the bus, folks, and I messaged Rhys on. That's
why you're like justifying.
Yeah,
I know a long time.
Yeah,
and I was on the bus. Yeah. I'm not a fanboy.
Yeah, he said something like, "You're a fucking warrior. Enjoy your Five Guys" or something like that. But congratulations to Rhys McKee. He had said though in post that it's he's finding the weight cut to light difficult. I think Rhys is like 6'3".
Yeah, he's huge.
He's a big man.
He's a lanky lightweight,
and he's grown bigger. He's getting like, he's what, 23 years, I think. Rhys, apologies if I'm getting your age wrong, but he's in and around that age, so he's getting bigger. So he was saying the only way he's staying at lightweight is if he gets a shot at the title. So Cage Warriors Belfast has some good arenas there, so I think make a journey and get Rhys McKee fighting for a title in front of his hometown. I think that would be pretty interesting and pretty fun. Cool, yeah. Sad news, unfortunately, for a legend of the sport is our last piece of news. Mirko Cro Cop suffers a stroke and retires from MMA. I was reading the article. He said after the Roy Nelson fight, he suffered a stroke. He said it wasn't from the outcome of the fight. He had a neck injury that he hadn't dealt with in a long time, and that caused a bleed on the brain. And he's advised, he's advised by doctors to call it a day. He basically can't take shots anymore. So famously, what was it? Right leg sends you to the hospital, left leg sends you to the cemetery. Mirko Cro Cop, absolute legend. Go and watch his, like, as in when he came to the UFC, it didn't work out 100% for him. He had some great highlights, but remember he Gonzaga knocked him out with the Cro Cop. He got Cro Cop.
Oh, that was devastating.
But when you look at him, like in Pride, and his style of fighting, phenomenal, dangerous fighter. But sure, recently he won the Ryzen
and he fought Roy Nelson. So it's
he's an icon of the sport.
It's a shame. It's a shame that he had to go out that way. But I'm glad that he seems like he's healthy now. Like he obviously had. That's not a great thing to have, a stroke.
It just means you can't fight anymore.
It just means you can't fight anymore. But I'm kind of glad that he has called it a day, and I'm glad that he found that now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
Nelson,
what a legend.
Roy Nelson was calling for the third match, and he said, "Well, I guess we can't do it, but much respect and peace and
absolute legend.
Health to you." But it is. Mirko Cro Cop is an absolute legend of the sport. We thank you for the years of entertainment and highlight reel knockouts, and so many of them. Phenomenal fighter. So the best of health and best of luck in the future. I'm sure he was in like government and stuff, wasn't he? He was part of whatever it was in Croatia. So whatever you decide to do,
at one point,
the best of luck with that as well. So Cro Cop
makes sense. Yeah,
gotta be a movie about him, I'd say. Probably be a low budget movie, but movie nonetheless. Let's move it on and get your 4-ounce gloves on, because this is Fight Your Corner. This is Fight Your Corner. So this is where me and Rob are the fighters, if you like. Sean is our referee, the third man in the cage. Sean is going to give us a topic. So right now we don't know what this topic is.
It is on the screen though.
We don't know if
we can't see
it. So we don't know if we're pro or con. So how do we know we're going to pro or con? We're going old school. Paper, rock, scissors. That's where we're going.
What?
Paper, rock, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Whatever. I couldn't think of the name of it. I haven't done this since I was a kid. I'm 38.
So
we go on 3. So it's 1, 2, and then go.
I'm going to use this arm.
The idea of this is the loser is con. So whatever the question is,
you're against.
You're against. Okay. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Against.
So Rob is against. What is the subject? Referee Sean.
Okay, so I don't know if you watched Dana's post-fight press conference over the weekend. Did you?
No.
I did.
I definitely didn't watch it while I was in work. So Dana, he's a big fan. He gets on well with DC. He said that DC is getting the Brock fight, but he also said that in his humble opinion, DC is the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Ooh.
And my question is, do you agree or disagree? And if you're disagreeing, you can argue for whoever you want, or you can simply argue that it's not DC.
Okay.
So I'm saying he is the best.
Yeah,
heavyweight.
best heavyweight of all time.
Fuck! I proper lost that paper scissors.
No, you didn't.
Ooh.
You're gonna argue for it. You agree with it.
Whew. I am in a tough position here. Oh.
So I'll give you a couple of seconds to gather your thoughts, and I'll explain a couple of things. So you will each get an opening statement, and then we're going to have a debate. I'm going to chime in as a referee. If someone's talking over someone too much, I'm going to say let them talk, you know. Show me some work.
Show me some work, yeah.
And then
Mark Goddard.
Yeah. And then there's no set time on it, but I'm going to keep it fairly short. I'm not going to go too long. With about a minute left, I have a pair of clappers here.
What are they, markers?
Yeah. Markers, clappers, same thing, you know.
Same thing.
And then once I do the clappers, there's a minute left, and once that minute is up, we'll each get a very brief closing statement, and then I will pick a winner.
Okay.
Yeah, this is an interesting. Good topic,
Yeah.
Sean. It's a good one. And again, if you are listening and you go, yeah, such and such, you think who got the hardest argument? Before we even start, who's got the hardest argument? Leave your comments below and give your opinion. If you do think Daniel Cormier is the best heavyweight of all time, go ahead. So, Sean, who goes first?
Noel won, so Noel can choose.
Oh, makes sense.
Ooh. Rob, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Opening statements.
Opening statement. Daniel Cormier isn't the greatest heavyweight of all time, for a few reasons. First things first, does the greatest heavyweight of all time. It's not his teammate, although he's close. So I genuinely think there's a few that go over Daniel Cormier. But I think Fedor Emelianenko has shown over the course of his career in many different eras, fighting in probably the best era of heavyweight fighting, in the best promotion for heavyweight fighting and private fighting championships, that he was the best heavyweight of all time. I think Daniel Cormier is a very good heavyweight, and especially considering he's an undersized heavyweight, as was Fedor. I think he's done a great job. But I think a lot of his best work has been also at light heavyweight. Some of the guys he's beaten at heavyweight in this era, I think, were not great fighters, and I just think that Fedor has beaten some of the most legendary names in heavyweight fighting in MMA history.
Your argument seems to be more promoting Fedor here than you're just hyping Fedor.
Yeah,
you're not saying nothing about.
But I think hyping Fedor as the best heavyweight of all time takes away DC's chances at being the best heavyweight of all time. But in terms of why I don't think DC is the best heavyweight of all time, is that he did win the title, sure. You know, it was a bit of a dodgy finish. There was a bit of an eye poke in there. He has defended it against Derek Lewis in a short notice fight. It's impressive, but Derek Lewis, it doesn't really compare to a lot of the fighters that Fedor beat in his prime, and even outside his prime.
Back to Fedor again.
Gonna have to ask you to wrap it up soon, Rob. It's an opening statement here.
Yeah, so I completely disagree that DC is the best heavyweight of all time.
Daniel Cormier is the greatest heavyweight of all time. Do you know why?
Why?
Because at a heavyweight, he's never been beaten.
Sure.
He has fought good fighters. He entered the Strikeforce heavyweight tournament as an alternate, I believe, originally, and then came in and won the said tournament. I've never, even take away the Daniel Cormier is the greatest heavyweight of all time, Fedor Emelianenko, he was knocked out by a middleweight. Dan Henderson, a middleweight, knocked out your greatest heavyweight fighter of all time. Bigfoot Silva.
Yeah, was it Bigfoot?
You know, I just
Bigfoot Silva was a force at that point.
I don't.
He was on
understand
TRT. He was a force.
Now, if you look at Daniel Cormier, some of the lesser fighters that he has he's beaten, as you said, Frank Mir, one of the most decorated fighters in heavyweight fighting, considered to have the best jiu-jitsu. Daniel Cormier is a wrestler,
Of his prime,
and he Wasn't out of his prime. It was 2013,
Yes,
Frank
out of
Mir.
his prime.
2013. Roy Nelson. He's beaten Roy Nelson, who was a big heavyweight. He is undersized. Daniel Cormier is
prime.
undersized for a heavyweight. He really is. So when he cuts down to light heavy, and the only person who's beaten Daniel Cormier is John Jones. A juiced up John Jones. Where Daniel Cormier is depleting his body. If Daniel Cormier was to fight John Jones, a heavyweight, that John Jones could easily make with his frame and size, he would beat him. Daniel Cormier ragdolls much bigger men around the cage, throwing them around the cage. Stipe Miocic is the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time. He's defended the belt more than anyone. Daniel Cormier dispatched him in the first round. The first round. Derek Lewis was seen as the next big brawler and fighter. Put him away. Second round, after beating the living hell out of him. Then you look at other fighters down at lightweight where he's done it. Diminished as a fighter. Beaten Volkan Ozdemir, knocking him out. Anthony Rumble Johnson, many consider one of the hardest hitters in MMA.
Yeah.
He took his best shots and beat him up.
Gonna ask you to wrap it up soon.
Wrong
Noel.
division.
You're talking about a man who has fought in Strikeforce and won belts. You're talking about a man who, out of respect, only cut to light heavyweight for his teammate Cain Velasquez. You're talking about a man who was undefeated. You're talking about a man who was the current, reigning, defending, undefeated UFC heavyweight champion.
Thank you, Noel.
If you compare him
I've
to...
convinced myself.
So we're open. That's the
This is
open
open for
stage.
discussion
we're
now.
opening the floor now. So both make your points. I want some good, clean
Okay.
debate here.
Okay.
If someone is talking over someone, I'm gonna butt in and ask you to stop. If you're going no at your point,
Yeah.
wrap it up.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then clappers, obviously, minute left, and then closing statements, and then we pick a winner.
So you want to talk about who Daniel Cormier beat?
Mm-hmm.
A heavyweight.
Yeah.
He's beat some decent guys, some good guys. Many of them out of their prime. But if you look at Fedor Emelianenko...
He was out of their prime.
Frank Mir was out of his prime.
Fedor Emelianenko has only beat
Frank Mir was out of his prime.
2013 Frank Mir.
Yeah, out of his prime. That was not Frank Mir's prime. Frank Mir's prime was years before that. Years before that. Disagree? I don't.
100% disagree.
Let's back onto my point.
What year,
Fedor
did Frank Mir fight and beat Brock Lesnar?
I don't know. I don't know it off the top of my head. You go find out. Let me give you my point. Fedor Emelianenko, if you want to talk about who people have beaten at heavyweight, Fedor Emelianenko, who's who of heavyweights in his prime against guys in their prime. In their prime. So look at it. Let's look at some of the fighters that he's beat. Okay? Nogueira, Big Nog, who was considered one of the most dominant champions in his
DC
prime.
doesn't beat Big Nog.
This is we're
In his
talking.
prime.
You can't compare it like that way. You have to look at who he beat in his prime, and Big Nog at that point was seen as unbeatable, and Fedor made him look like nothing. Beat him easily. Crow Cop in probably one of the biggest ever MMA fights in the history of mixed martial arts. Beat him. Put on crazy performances. And if you want to talk about unbeaten, Fedor Emelianenko was unbeaten for how many fights? It must have been about 25-ish at heavyweight. Staying at heavyweight. Didn't lose
knocked
in
out by
between there.
middleweight.
Didn't go down and get beaten by another light heavyweight.
But
He stayed
the
at
point-
heavyweight and got and won a heavyweight.
The point you're missing with Daniel Cormier here is Daniel Cormier would have signed and fought in the UFC at heavyweight, but out of respect and loyalty to the then UFC champion in that his natural weight class, heavyweight, he dropped and diminished his body and still bet the best fighters at that weight class.
At light
The only
heavyweight, I
the only
understand he had
person-
great success
and
at light heavyweight.
So now he's come back up to heavyweight and he's beat Stipe Miocic, he's beat Derek Lewis, he's going to beat the brakes off Brock Lesnar, and then he's going to retire as an undefeated heavyweight champion. That's what he's going to do. That's the fairy tale ending.
Yeah.
He's going to walk off. So Fedor Emelianenko, yeah, he has beaten good fighters, but you're talking about Fedor Emelianenko fighting in Japan, and all of it's rigged to fuck. It's Japanese MMA. He's beaten then the likes of your Tim Sylvias, your Andrei Arlovskis, when they've been beaten up already in the UFC and they're past their sell-by date. So you're talking about right now
later in his career.
Daniel Cormier. Let's talk about right now. You're talking about a Daniel Cormier who dispatched Stipe Miocic. The big fear was Francis Ngannou. Look what Stipe done to Francis Ngannou. Look who Stipe has beaten. Look at you have to look at the MMA maths of who he's beaten, what he's done. He's beaten bigger men. He's beaten better strikers. He gets everybody into his game plan. He has flaws in what he does, but nobody can stop his wrestling, how he grinds, and how he beats. For me, it's a grand slam. If you were to put Fedor Emelianenko, which is your argument more than Daniel Cormier isn't that good, you're just talking about Fedor. If Daniel Cormier prime time fight Fedor Emelianenko prime time, Daniel Cormier picks him up and grinds him out and beats him. I genuinely, aside of this argument, don't disagree.
Well,
I wouldn't say that. Genuinely, this would be my real thought on that. I do think Daniel Cormier beats him. If they fought, certainly now if he beats him, but Fedor's finished now. That doesn't matter. Yeah. But he beats him. But we're talking about cutting weights and doing different things, depleted. He, out of loyalty to his friend, dropped down to light heavyweight, beats the who's who, became the champion of that division.
Avoiding the better heavyweight.
Now moved back up to heavyweight. He beats Kane as well. Moves back up to heavyweight and is a heavyweight champion of the world.
See, I think the hardest promotion the question in the world is who's the best heavyweight of all time, and you have to look at the credentials. You got to look at the credentials, and if you're looking at the credentials, there's no more credentialed than Fedor Emelianenko.
He's fighting now. He didn't fight in the big promotion.
They talk about how he did fight in the promotion. Pride was the promotion then, the heavyweight promotion.
No, but he never fought the best fighters outside of Pride in their prime. He didn't.
I disagree.
If you look at some of the fighters he has,
but all the heavyweights are in. Take someone out from the heavyweight division back then. Who would you put in? You probably put in Frank Mir when he was in his prime, like before he fought DC when he was out of his prime. You probably would have put him in there. You maybe would have put in Tim Sylvia in his prime, maybe.
I thought you'd put in the 450-pound Tim Sylvia now. That's the fight you want to see.
But you have to look at the credentials because you can't really compare, one fighter to another in terms of who will win in different generations. Yeah, DC will probably win that fight, but you have to look at what they done in their careers. Fedor won the title and he ran with it. He ran through everybody, put on crazy performances. Daniel Cormier just has not done enough at heavyweight to be considered the best heavyweight of all time. He just has not done enough.
2010, 9 years ago, Fedor Emelianenko was getting his ass whooped by Brett Rogers. Unbelievable knockout, by the way, to come back. Verdun beat him. Anthony Silva, Bigfoot beat him. And then Dan Henderson beat him in 1 year.
Yeah, Elvis Prime.
10 years ago. 9 years ago.
He was Elvis Prime.
Not out of his prime.
He was Elvis Prime. Fedor's prime was in 2002.
9 years ago, he was 33. That is prime time for heavyweight.
He took damage over them years because he was fighting the best heavyweights available in Pride because that's where the best heavyweight division was.
He got beat by Verdun. He got beat by Bigfoot Silva and a middleweight and Dan Henderson.
That was the slump. That was the slope in Fedor's career. But before that, he racked up accolades.
But you know what you can't do with Dan
Henderson? The accolades that DC
DC
has not done.
Do you know what you can't do with DC? You can't name off fight after fight that he lost because that hasn't happened. He only lost to John Jones and then no contest to John Jones.
He's a great fighter.
He has won everybody put in front of him.
Yeah.
He's beaten the best that's put in front of him. You can only beat the best in front of you, and he's done it in style points each time, with the point being Stipe Miocic got him out of there in the first round, the most successful UFC heavyweight of all time. Like Daniel Cormier, if he will beat that record if he continues to fight. If he retires beforehand, if he goes out after beating the brakes off Brock Lesnar, he won't beat that. But if Daniel Cormier, he'll equal it with Brock. So fight Stipe again and beat that record and retire on top of it. He's the best heavyweight of all time.
You have to look at it relatively, and relatively, that Pride heavyweight division was so much better than the UFC heavyweight division now. The UFC heavyweight division now is just primed to be taken by somebody, and Daniel Cormier went up and took it. When Cain Velasquez was gone,
you telling me Stipe, Francis Ngannou, Cain Velasquez is in there?
Ngannou was exposed.
Stefan Struve.
Velasquez left and he would never fight Velasquez. The only guy he had to get through, the legitimate guy, was Stipe Miocic, and he did. But by a hair, there was a bit of an eye poke.
By a hair, first round knockout.
By a hair. But even if it wasn't by a hair, even if he finished him devastatingly, he hasn't done what Fedor has done in the heavyweight division. He hasn't picked up them accolades. He hasn't beaten all these guys.
Fedor hasn't fought at the best. Fedor, every time he's fought in American soil, he looks like shit.
Out of his prime.
Not out of his prime. 9 years ago, 33 years of age is your prime as a heavyweight. That was out of his prime. Absolute prime as a heavyweight. Well, Daniel Cormier is number one on top of the ranks. Do you know why? Because he has the belts at home to fucking prove it.
Gonna call a wrap to it there, lads.
Okay. We got a closing argument.
Closing statements. So Rob started this one, so I'm going to ask for the closing statement from Noel first.
There's no denying it. Facts speak for themselves. He's undefeated as a heavyweight. Nobody else can say that. Even your magical, mystical Fedor cannot say he's undefeated as a heavyweight. Daniel Cormier can. Currently sitting at home, he has 2 UFC belts. He'll be getting a nice shiny one when he beats Brock Lesnar, who many people wanted to see fight Fedor. He's going to make an absolute mincemeat out of him as well, and he's going to retire as the UFC's and MMA's #1 pound for pound heavyweight champion. He's undefeated. That's, you want to talk, you said facts, accolades, undefeated.
I'm undefeated at heavyweight.
Undefeated at heavyweight. And he's beaten the longest serving heavyweight champion. He diminished his body so he wouldn't have to fight his teammate. Apart from that, he'd be undefeated as a heavyweight and would be on like a 10-fight winning streak in the heavyweight division.
Thank you, Noel.
I think that was, we don't know that. He could have been, we don't know that. That's not fact. But what is a fact is that Fedor Emelianenko fought in the best heavyweight division that we've ever had, in the best promotion for heavyweights that we've ever had, against the best collection of heavyweights we've ever seen. Daniel Cormier hasn't done that. You can say Daniel Cormier is undefeated at heavyweight, but he hasn't gone through the mill that Fedor went through. Fedor went through everybody. Anyone that was worth fighting back then, apart from a small number of fighters, you could probably name them on one hand.
Fedor fought on shows promoted by his own management company.
Closing statement.
Own management company.
If you don't want to point the duck, then you'll
Fedor was so successful at heavyweight that many promotions brought him in as their crown jewel. Strikeforce at one point, it was their crown jewel. He might have lost there. Affliction, crown jewel.
Bellator
Decent good
too.
Heavyweights there. Bellator too.
Light heavyweight beat him.
Elite XC brought him in. Plenty of promotions.
Ryan Bader's light heavyweight.
And he went through the best heavyweights we've ever seen. You got to look at the accolades. You got to look at it relatively. He had the best heavyweight resume of all time. Of all time. Kanye West would say it. Of all time.
Had him beat.
Thank you, lads.
Thanks, Sean.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
Champ is here! Just for the judges, you know.
So we did say before this that I'm not going my opinion whatsoever.
Yeah, on the
Interestingly, before you give it, what is your opinion?
My opinion was that it's not DC, like.
Ooh, so I was really up against it.
Yeah,
I
so
have to change his opinion.
I did try very hard. You made some MMA maths points that were a bit spurious at best.
Me?
Yeah.
What point?
I mean, DC would have beat everyone in heavyweight if he wasn't friends with Kane.
His record states that he's beaten everyone he's fought at heavyweight.
But you said he would have been on some stupid long win streak if it wasn't.
He would be.
It was a guess.
Because he wouldn't have to. It wasn't a guess.
No, but it's a prediction.
It's maybe an educated guess. Like,
let's not argue more.
But it's MMA. It's MMA maths, like.
It's his decision anyway.
Well, it's not MMA maths. Already this fucking disagree.
There was the MMA maths of putting lads in different generations and stuff. Both sides were like that. You know, both sides are guilty.
Well, in fairness, to me, I didn't go that angle. That was Robert who started talking
about
argue. Historic fighter.
I struggle to see the argument that DC is from the points made, I struggle to see the argument that DC is the greatest heavyweight of all time. I think the points Rob made about Fedor and the Pride division, I think DC could easily go on to be the greatest heavyweight of all time if he'd stepped up a few years earlier.
Yeah.
But you just said my point was ridiculous.
No, but I'm not taking that into consideration.
Prediction, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that Rob on this one.
Disappointing for the Fedor, and do you know what? I still stand by it. Like I do think I think I had the harder of the argument.
Yeah, I do. I was gonna say
yeah.
I think,
but I still don't think Fedor is the greatest heavyweight of all time. I think people absolutely blow Fedor up.
Yeah, I think Rob could have took the question. The question was, is DC the greatest heavyweight of all time?
Yeah.
Could have took the question and just said no.
Yeah.
Well, no, he went about it. Your tactic was right, because people. The whole Fedor is the greatest thing since whatever. Yeah. So it was the right.
I just felt like I needed somebody to put in there, not just like who is I don't know. It's somebody else.
Yeah, but it was the right route to go.
It was fun though. It was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I think Noel made a very good effort considering he stuck with the long.
Yeah, that was a tough one to argue because he hasn't done a whole lot.
You did.
Yeah, he is undefeated.
No, he is.
It was close. And it
doesn't sound like a Sean. It sounded like your opinion was already made up.
But to be honest, I'm like a few months ago I was like I think DC potentially could be the best heavyweight. Like, I'm not completely off that train. If someone like if you the arguments you gave, I completely agree with, and I think he's top three because he is undefeated.
I think if you look at a lot of Daniel Cormier's catalogue of fights, and I know it's not heavyweight and stuff like, but the likes of it, when you look at the Anthony Rumble Johnson fight, like he hit DC like harder than I think anybody's ever hit anyone, and he rolled through that. Like, and I genuinely, I know it's the fantasy game, but look, they done it in Rocky, so we can do it. If Fedor was to fight DC and they were both in their prime, I think he doesn't hit DC any harder than Rumble. And
I think Cormier mauls him.
I think we beat him. See, look, he's saying
let us know in the comments below. What's your opinion? Do you agree or disagree?
Should I have argued it differently? Should I have come with a different argument?
No, I don't think so. I think you made the best of a tough argument. As well, if anyone has any topics they'd like us to debate, we do have emails now. We are very official. So email me at sean@afewgoodfights.com, because we don't want the guys seeing it beforehand.
Sweet. Moving on.
No, I'm crestfallen that I lost. So I am, unlike Daniel Cormier, I am defeated. Let's move it on to a little bit of homework. This is educating young Sean. So young Sean is the younger man in the podcast here. He only got into MMA through being a fan of Conor McGregor. Yep. And as openly said, he wants to look back at some great fights. So we thought, let's make it a part of the show and let's bring it into the show. So the idea is me and Rob are both going to give Sean a fight from the past. Sean has signed up to UFC Fight Pass, so he'll have to watch these fights. So we'll pick one fight, and then next week we'll discuss it almost like it only happened this weekend, because it has only happened for Sean. Yeah. So we have our two fights picked. Rob, what fights?
Just in the spirit of this show, I think it makes sense to go with this one. Something that we brought up. It's Fedor Emelianenko versus Mirko Cro Cop. Of course, Cro Cop had that had a stroke there very recently. But it's one of the most important heavyweight fights of all time, and it's a great fight, and I think you'll enjoy it. That's at Pride FC Final Conflict 2005.
Excellent.
Check it out.
Thank you, Rob.
2005. So I am going with UFC 116.
Okay.
Lesnar v Carwin, but that's not the fight.
Oh, that would have been a good pick.
But
I think I know what the pick is.
The co-main event. Go on, you think you know?
Was Chris Leben on that card? Is that Chris Leben?
Yeah.
Is it Chris Leben, Yoshihiro Akiyama?
That's exactly who it is.
Fucking nailed it.
Yeah, Chris Leben, Yoshi Akiyama.
What a fight.
What a fight. This is a middleweight fight, Sean. Chris Crippler Leben. Jokingly earlier, we said to Brendan, we mentioned he beat the legend Chris Leben, or Brendan, whatever. Chris Leben, check it out. Akiyama. Yeah. Phenomenal fight. They are two.
Sexy Yama.
Yeah, sexy Yama. These are two brilliant fights.
Oh my God, what a fight.
Thoroughly enjoyable. Excellent. So go watch them and come back with your report, and we will grade you, and we'll see what you get. We'll grade your opinion of the fight, and tell us which fight you actually enjoyed more, or not even more, just what you enjoyed about the fight.
Exactly.
I'm going to take notes. And then take notes, and so I don't forget stuff.
So if you haven't seen these fights either, this is a perfect opportunity for you. If you're signed up to Fight Pass, go watch them on Fight Pass. If you're not, I believe there's some websites out there that you can watch old fights on. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
We're not affiliated with Fight Pass, unfortunately. They're not paying us.
Yeah, they're not paying us. Yeah, so I'm not too sure.
Especially when he's throw shade at Dana White over
there. But I think like there's an MMA core website.
A core website,
that you can watch these fights on.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what the email address or what the address is, but that's it. But talking about fights, let's look ahead. UFC Fight Night Wichita goes down this Saturday night. Let's talk fights. UFC on ESPN Plus 4 goes down this weekend in Wichita, Kansas, in America. We've got Derek Lewis taking on Junior Dos Santos. It was the in America part.
Yeah, how'd you know?
Just in case. I know you too
in
well.
America.
Big main event. The heavyweights are in town. Let's start it there. We're going to preview a little bit of the card, give you our picks, and sure, we might even give you a few odds if you are the punting type. So yeah, Rob, I'll pass it to you first. Derek Lewis, Junior Dos Santos. Derek Lewis coming off the big opportunity fight in his last outing, returning to the cage. How'd you see it?
Historically, this seems like the type of fight that Junior Dos Santos would love. I'm not saying like all these guys that I'm going to say are the same type of guys, are the exact same fighters, but the likes of like Ryan Nelson, that type kind of reminds me of what a Derek Lewis is when he's striking, kind of a plodding guy who's just looking for that one big shot. And Junior Dos Santos usually does really well against those type of guys.
Could you argue his most recent win over Tuivasa is a similar style fighter?
Similar. I think Tuivasa is a little bit different in terms of he'll throw combinations and he's a little bit more aggressive. Lewis reminds me of somebody further down the card, Ben Rothwell, who will kind of just come forward, try to take the centre, and then once he gets an opportunity to take a shot, he will. And Junior Dos Santos usually does well against that type of guys. Even if you look at another guy actually on the card that Junior fought, Ivan Akhmov. Yeah. Similar thing, where he just took the centre, was looking for the big shot, and Junior just popped at the jab and just outstruck him. And I kind of see a similar thing happen here.
Yeah, Derek Lewis is like the wingmill style, and that sounds disrespectful, but Dos Santos has much crisper striking.
Yeah.
His boxing, he's good foot movement. This is a type of fight though that, you know, Derek Lewis is that, as we've seen in his previous fights, he can lull better strikers, as in more technical strikers, into his type of fight, so which is I'm absolutely wrecked, let's have a brawl style fight, and he lands that shot. You look at the big win that got him the big show against Alexander Volkov. Like, he was on his way to losing that fight. He was literally like 10-15 seconds away from losing.
Come back from the dead,
and he lands that big hand. Yeah, so it's a weird one, because when Derek Lewis got the title shot against Cormier, everyone was like, yeah, do you know what, he's deserving of it. And now you put him in with Junior. So when that fight was announced against Junior Santos, I went, that's a really bad fight for him, because he's going to fight against someone who was good footwork, who was fast hands, accurate hands, will get out of there, and also possesses finishing power. I can see Junior working off the jab and eventually mixing it up, the combinations, ripping to the body and changing it up and just beating Derek Lewis up for the majority of the fight. Worth noting as well, Derek Lewis, how's his back as well? Would he stay there? It's a 5
It's always a question,
fight,
isn't it, with Derek Lewis?
So you don't know.
Back,
but like, you know, if you were a gambling man, you know what I mean, my pick would be, you know, put money on proving Junior Dos Santos. I just think there's levels to MMA, and I just think Derek Lewis is just under Junior in that one. But Sean, what's your take on this one?
I was personally very impressed with Dos Santos' win over Tai Tuivasa, because I rate Tuivasa very highly, or I did anyway, still do. But I was very impressed with Junior's win over him.
It's the type of fight though that, like, when you look at Junior Dos Santos, who he's lost it down his career, like Stipe, lost to Stipe, lost to Alistair Overeem, Cain Velasquez. Do you know what I mean? So he's lost to the top of the food chain in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, and he's been finished a couple of times. So I think you can say, and I think it's a fair argument to say, that he's open to be finished. As in, if you can land a big shot, you can't finish him. Not saying his chin is bad, but these are heavyweights. But the guys who he lost by strikes to, Stipe Miocic, Alistair Overeem,
elite strikers.
They're elite strikers.
And Cain is an elite wrestler.
Yeah, usually he doesn't just get caught with a shot. Yeah. You know, what Derek Lewis likes to do. And ground-wise, Lewis can be good when he gets on top, but I don't see this going to the floor. I don't see takedowns coming from Lewis. So
fast turnaround for Dos Santos, who fought, was last in December. But like, I'm saying Junior here. If it put me down in an accumulator, I'd be picking Junior. But I'm rooting for Derek Lewis. I just I think he's a fan favorite, and like it's quite funny the whole because my balls is hot really got him really like out there and everyone was in it, but man, he was funny before that. He's a good personality. I think he's good for the sport, and he gives us joy when he's in there. He enjoys it. Do you know what I mean? He like his interviews, you feel he makes the answers up just to entertain himself. So I'd be rooting for Lewis, but I just think, like I said, levels,
a few steps ahead,
and Junior's boxing and footwork is just going to be too much. I think you'll pick him apart. I can see Junior finishing him coming into the later rounds. I don't think it's going to make championship rounds. No. I think you'll finish him probably in the third round. But as I said, Derek Lewis, he could land that shot, and once he gets blood and injures his opponents, he can get the job done. But yeah, Junior Santos, third round TKO.
I'll go same. Yeah, exact same.
That was quick for time. Sean, what is he?
I'm gonna go Derek. Just because I've looked at the prices. I'll tell you in a minute, but just on the prices, I'll take a punt on Derek with that big right hand.
What's the prices?
So Derek's 15-8 and Junior is 4-11. But as Noel was saying, Junior's probably a good pick for an accumulator.
Yeah, I like it.
I really like the comment in this one.
Yeah.
The reason for that is both fighters are on good winning streaks at the moment. I think they're both on like about. I think Dos Santos is like on a 6 or 7 fight win streak, and then you have Milner, who's on like a 9 fight win streak. I think made his debut against Thiago Alves, got the beautiful finish with that. Remember the knee was like
beautiful,
can he qualify as a flying knee? It was more of a step in knee.
A step in,
yeah.
half.
But then he big start in the UFC, and then his other 2 fights went to decisions. But what I like about this fight is the 2 of these guys are just forward momentum fighters. You might say Milner is the more technical style fighter.
Yeah, definitely.
While I can't call him Desanis because that's how I know him. It's Zalakis or whatever Desanis.
Zaleski.
He comes forward and just wings his shots.
Yeah.
So he's actually. He's a little bit of a very different style, but he's that forward Mirandering style of Vanderlei Silva or Vito Belfort when the gas is on.
Throws some crazy techniques as well.
Yeah, the Strickland, was it Sean Strickland?
Hook kick, was it?
The spinning,
spinning,
caught him spinning, finished him with ground and pound. So he has that in the back, but what he's like, he beats a lot of his opponents by the pressure he puts on them. He breaks their will because it's so hard to fight off your back foot. So I think the first fight in this is whose tempo is this fight going to be fought at? As in, if Desanis can make it his fight, yeah, fine. But as well, Milander, if he is able to get to his fight and his tempo and start getting off his techniques, he's very capable of throwing this spinny shit too, and has good knees and good finish. But the clinch work of DeSantos here is for me, and the forward momentum. That's where I'm picking. I'm going with DeSantos for this one to get it done, and I think he finishes as well. I think again probably going to go round 3, and the reason being is because just that constant pressure. So Milner's going to learn, or going to have to fight off his back foot, I think, here, or gain the respect straight away, or the Santos by landing big, so he doesn't come forward in that marauding way.
Funny enough, I completely agree with your assessment, but I agree with the finish. Melinder is definitely like the more cerebral fighter. He's a guy who likes to keep range, has a great jab, and likes to fight at that range. Whereas Zaleski or Dos Santos, he doesn't really likes to come forward. He likes to throw some crazy shots. He's the much more crazier fighter, I think you could say. And I think that's where, like, it's whoever can set that pace, whoever can fight at their own style. I think Melinder is good at fighting at range. I think he's going to hurt him with the jab. I don't think he's going to be able to get going, Dos Santos. So I'm going to go with Melinder. I really thought that CR fight was really, really good because CR, not that similar to Zaleski, but he does similar things where he likes to come forward, he likes to strike, and they both have that kind of style. And I thought Melinder done a great job with that. So I'm going to go with that, and I think it's going to look similar to the CR Bahadur fight. And I'm going to go Melinder. I'll say decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a late finish. But I'm really, really impressed with Melinder.
Is this one 5 rounds as well?
No.
3 rounds.
Yeah. It's an absolute cracking fight. It's
a great fight.
What do you think, Sean, and odds-wise as well?
I've looked at the odds. I'm struggling to pick a winner on this one. So both guys are 5-6, and it's not too often you see, like, it really is a pick 'em, because it's not generally with close fights you'll see a slight favourite. But so
might get slight closer to the night, you know, when Vegas odds start coming in.
Yeah.
I'm probably edging towards Melendo myself as well.
Yeah, I'm all over Melendo.
Quite a loose.
I think it's a great fight. I think it's actually great matchmaking. 2 of them are on good winning streaks, as I was saying at the start, breaking it down. But yeah, I think it's a fun fight, and for me that's fighting the night all over it. Like, all over it. Further down the card, we've Nico Price taking on Tim Means. What's your thoughts? I know you love Means just for the fact that he's called Dirty Bird.
Yeah, I do love Means. I'm not picking him here. I'm actually going to pick Price in this one. Means is a great fighter, but he's let me down so many times with bets. So many times. It's kind of frustrating. But he's really fun to watch. He reminds me somewhat of a Carlos Condit type fighter where he's very well rounded, but he likes to fight, which is a kind of a weird thing to say. But what I mean by that is he doesn't really go in with that much of a game plan. He goes in and says, I'll go and I'll do what comes up. I will strike if striking's there. I'll grapple if grappling's there. And sometimes against guys like Nico Price who can look for takedowns, get guys in their back and hurt them from there. Of course, he's a bit wild as well. But against guys like that, I think Tim Means can struggle because sometimes he can get into grappling exchanges, end up on his back, maybe get caught in a submission, or maybe just lose by decision just because he's trying to show his offense, which he likes to do. But sometimes, like with Sergio Pettis, where they just lie on their back for too long, they can lose points. And I think something similar is going to happen here, whereas Price might be able to finish, but I'm going to say Price will win by decision. I just think that in the grappling exchanges, he's better at scrambling. He's going to stay on top. Striking exchanges, Tim Means could catch him. He's good, but he's not a huge puncher. And generally, Nico Price gets caught by big punchers, not guys who are technical like Tim Means, who like to kind of have that clue.
Like his last fight,
gets caught. Whereas Tim Means likes to piece you up a little bit, likes to land combinations, but he's not going to go 100% on every shot. So I'm going to say Nico Price wins just by outworking Tim Means with the wrestling, with the grappling, and maybe in the striking. But I think it'd be a bit more even if it stays there.
I agree with your pick. I'm going Nico Price here myself as well. Of course, a lot of people got high on Price with the hammer fist from the bottom against Randy Brown.
Yeah.
But I think he possesses a lovely counter right hand as well. And as you said, Means doesn't land with ferocity and
it's accumulation of strikes that.
And I think he's susceptible to that big long. Like he's a long fighter as well. Nico Price is really he doesn't like Means is a big man, but Price when you watch him fight, people always it's like they seem to think they're out of his boxing range, and that just right hand just goes Dal Sim mode. Still lands.
Throws some crazy strikes, and even his submissions, he catches people in the scramble. Yeah,
his submission game is excellent as well. So I am going with Nico Price in this one as well.
I'd be interested to see the odds.
I actually think he's a big underdog. Actually,
big underdog.
Yeah, so Tim Means is quite a big favourite, 4-9 actually, which is
Rob. What's happening?
Rob clearly hadn't seen the odds.
Generally pick the favourites.
Yeah.
Change your pick.
Yeah, no, Nico Price, big underdog, 13-8. So
nice.
I'm gonna go that one myself, Nico Price. We're all full house. Everyone.
I like that one.
The return of Ben Rothwell hasn't fought in. No, come back and do your interview.
Okay.
Awful. Big Ben Rothwell makes a return. He is taking on Ivanov, who fought Junior Santos in his last outing, wasn't it? Was that his last outing?
Yeah.
Lost to Junior, so he's fighting Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell has not fought since
2 years, maybe more, but he was off for 2 years. I know that.
Against
it wasn't the finish of Alistair.
No, he lost to Junior Dos Santos.
Oh, well,
so the two of them are coming off losses to Junior Dos Santos. But it's been a long time. 2016. It was in April 2016. So it's a long time since Ben Rothwell's been in there. You see, we always talk about the evolution of MMA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
MMA heavyweights are like, the big boulder that sort of is going uphill rather than downhill. It doesn't
evolve as quickly.
Yeah. So coming back in, but it's a long time off. Ivanov, what I like about him is that when you look at his Junior Dos Santos fight, I think the tip of the hat you can give him, Junior Santos respected his power so much that he didn't really want to engage that much.
Yeah.
He has a lovely counter overhand right, dare I say it, Fedor-esque.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Ivanov in this one.
Well,
I just think
nice.
Like Broadwell could maul him,
it's a pick 'em of sorts because they're also heavyweights.
Yeah, but I think Ivanov lands that Fedor-esque right hand, and Noel comes back here next week and told you.
Yeah, this is a weird one because usually when someone like Ben Rothwell, who's like insanely experienced, do you have his record up there? If you can get that, he's insanely experienced. He has so many fights. He doesn't need to be active, is what I mean.
36-10.
Yeah, so he has loads of fights. I mean, he doesn't really need to be
46.
active to know how to fight.
Yeah.
So I don't think the layoff could be a factor in that sense. But in the sense of the fight pace could be a problem, because if you watch Ivanov, not in the Junior Dos Santos fight, the other fights, sometimes he's really aggressive. And you kind of mentioned this earlier with another fight. But sometimes he's really aggressive and he wins with pace.
Yeah.
And if Ben Rothwell isn't quite fight fit, up to speed, it could be a problem. But if Ivanov fights the way he fought Junior Dos Santos, I think this could be Rothwell's fight to lose, because Rothwell, again, is one of them fighters, like I said earlier, likes to kind of stand in the middle, wait for shots, and then land the shot when it opens up. And I think Ivanov will give that to him if he fights in that way. But if he puts the pressure on, like he has in some of his other fights, it could be really, really interesting. But I'm going to say Ben Rothwell wins, and he might finish him late. Maybe like late second-ish.
Odds?
Another pick 'em. Both guys 5-6.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Benil Dariush takes on Drew Dober. I'll get it straight off the bat here. It's a weird one. Drew Dober, huge Muay Thai experience and background as a young fella. He was a national. I love it. He was a national world champion.
A national world champion.
Figure that one out.
Very nice.
But Drew Dober. Ironically though, most of his finishes come by the way of submission.
Yeah.
So the whole Thai background. But I'm gonna go with Drew here. I just think Dariush he's the sort of guy, like you said with Tim Means, he lets you down so many times on bets. And Dariush is that guy that you're like, he's the big favourite in this. Oh, okay. I just think Drew Dober will use his Muay Thai style, if you like, and work in and let the kicks go. And I just think he'll slowly pick apart Beneil Dariush. I don't see a finish. I see it going to the judges' scorecards, and I'm going to say 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards for Drew Dober.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with Dariush. He's again.
You always pick Dariush.
I know, and I've been wrong with him a few times, but when he does win, I'm right. Work that one out. Yeah, so I'm going to pick Dariush.
Wasted.
Not hugely confident in it. I think if it says in the feet Drew Dober can win, we've seen the Hernandez fight, Dariush can get caught. But I think if it does hit the floor, Dariush should be many steps ahead of him. And I think he'll be able to probably get a finish, because we've seen Dober being finished a couple of times by submission as well. So yeah,
that chin, how after Edson Barboza,
there's been a few of them, and every time he loses, he gets, yeah. So, but I'll go with Dariush. I'd be interested to see what these odds are, but I'll go with Dariush submission.
Sean?
So Dariush is 1-2 and Drew Dober is 6-4. So there's a nice little bet in there for you this week.
Yeah.
And then opening the main card, we've got Omari Akhmedov taking on Tim Boetsch. When I was doing my little bit of research for this one, I was like, Tim Boetsch, and I put in brackets because it's Tim Boetsch.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it?
That's what I don't put. Like, Boetsch is, like I really did, like, there it is, like Tim Boetsch because it's Tim Boetsch.
Very good.
We believe you.
Yeah, it's just Tim Boetsch is you just don't know with Tim Boetsch. Like, his last time out, he just didn't look like Tim Boetsch at all. He didn't have that aggression. He didn't have that, and Carlos Jr. absolutely went through him. Then he wasn't out before that until like Johnny Hendricks. Like, Johnny Hendricks doesn't even wear gloves when he fights anymore. Do you know what I mean? That's where Johnny Hendricks is gone. But I don't know. He's been an actor for a while. As you said, actually, it's a good point with Ben Rothwell. Is he's so experienced? You don't need to be active to remember how to fight. I'm going with Tim Boetsch in this one. I wouldn't put it near an accumulator, because you really don't know what Tim Boetsch is going to turn up this time around. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, because on his day he's as hard as nails, as tough as they can come, and can fight through it. But at 38 years of age, he's coming off that loss. Where is he at? How's he look? But yeah, I'm still. Sounds like I'm picking against them. But all in Tim Boetsch. Let's go.
I am hugely torn on this one. I don't know which way to go. I had Akhmedov down, but I think you changed my mind with your opening statement of I'm picking him because he's Tim Boetsch, because that's kind of why I want to pick him. But Akhmedov will fight the fight that Tim Boetsch likes. Yeah. And that's a scrap, because they're both scrappers, and it's kind of who wins that. I'd probably generally, like, if I was thinking with my head, I'd pick Akhmedov because he's the less, I guess, weathered guy, and Tim Boetsch didn't look great in his last fight. But Tim Boetsch, he just has a knack for just pulling out a bag, landing a shot in the last round.
Tim Boetsch is always the guy that you think that when it's said and done and it's over and it's going to be wrapped.
Exactly, yeah. So if Tim Boetsch loses the first 2 rounds, back him to win in the 3rd round. I'll go with Tim Boetsch, but I'm not. Boetsch. I'm not really confident.
It's Doran's love for him as well. Sean, odds.
Tim Boetsch 6-4. And Akhmedov 8-15.
Ooh, that kind of sounds about right, though. Yeah, it sounds about right.
So there's a nice little bet in there for you this week.
Sweet.
That's the main card. I've pulled up a little threefold. So what did they get? Treble in America?
Treble
in America? What do they call it? Double, a parlay?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I think that's what they call all multiple bets.
Yeah, parlay is all multiple bets.
Parlay. There's 3 of them. I'm going Nico Price, Dos Santos, as in Zaleki's. Say it for me again, Rob.
Zaleki.
Yeah.
Zaleki, Dos Santos, and then I'm going Junior Dos Santos.
Zaleski.
You're going to get about 7-1 odds in that.
Nice.
So just short of 7-1 odds. Little treble.
Is that in Vegas odds? What's that? Is that around 800?
I'll trust you with that one.
I think it's around 800 in Vegas odds
for
those in America.
That's a nice little bet.
Let me know in the comments.
It is a nice little bet, isn't it? 7
Yeah.
for a threefold. Definitely sticking that on.
Yeah.
So that'd be my show. And yeah, so that's fights go down Saturday night in Wichita, Kansas, and let's just hope for a few good fights. So now's that time of the show where we look at Sean's weird news. What is Sean's weird news? So this is where Sean scrolls the internet. Not for the things that a young man of Sean's age normally scrolls the internet for. He's looking for weird news, MMA related. So Sean, what is your weird and wonderful news this week?
So this week we have 2 items. This first one that I'm going to show you is a submission.
Speak into your microphone, Sean, like a professional, will you?
Apologies. So I have 2 items here. The first one is a submission. I'm going to pause it very quickly so that we can open it on the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fine to play from here. So this is a submission. Keep your eyes open.
Nice.
Oh, is he fucking pulling the cock off him?
Oh, banana split.
Oh,
Banana split. Oh.
Banana split.
Get wrecked. That looked painful.
Yeah, very cool submission.
I'm very, very, very unflexible.
Yeah.
So if somebody done that to me, I wouldn't have even... See, when he rolled, when he was rolling, I would have been like...
when he
I'm
started
gone.
pulling at his leg.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it again just for the people at home.
Yeah.
We can have another look at it.
just there, it looks a little inappropriate.
Oh, that looks painful there, man. When he wraps the leg around the far leg, that looks painful.
He let him tap for a while as well.
Yeah, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always remember first day of jiu-jitsu and rolling with somebody.
Someone
and they just,
banana split you?
and I grapevine me legs.
All right.
And while I was in their guard, and like, and I swear, I didn't tap now, but like, Jesus Christ, you were talking about being unflexible.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rotten.
yeah, that'd be me.
So the next one, we were all at Bellator in the 3 Arena in Dublin. Leah
good crack.
McCourt was on the card.
Oh, she was, yeah.
So, her mum actually was on Facebook, I believe it was. Yeah, Facebook.
Okay.
So if we look at the picture here.
Okay, let's read this out for the people who are listening.
Yeah. So the caption on Leah's tweet is, Rob, if you want to read it out there.
It says, when parents have social media and then a bunch of emojis like laughing and crying faces, my mum taking on the online trolls. Facepalm.
So I don't know if any of you have seen the Leah McCourt finish, but basically it was a load of elbows and a bit of ground and pound finish.
Okay.
So then Francois Umi says,
Very nice, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. Nasty shots. Only the first elbow landed and it had no weight on it. LOL. And then Lynn McCourt, who I assume is Leah's
Must be the
mom,
mum.
gets on him. And she's saying, she tags Francois Umois and says, have you still got your white belt? And then she tags another guy, Ken Pfeiffer, and says, you come and feel those soft punches if you're so sure of yourself.
Jesus.
Bra-
Leah
bra-
McCourt's mother.
Go on.
Fair play to you, Lynn. Irish mammy mentality there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've had
Don't
some
talk
Irish
about my daughter.
Yeah, we've had some Irish mammy stuff on this before. So
Well, I don't get the point that Francois, how'd you say his name, Sean?
Francois Umois.
Ume,
Sorry, I changed that.
Francois Ume. I don't understand where he was saying had no weight on it.
Yeah.
She absolutely ground and pound.
Yeah, we were there. We seen it like it was nasty. I assume Leah had a video up or something, and then he came on and was just bitching and whining.
Yeah.
The internet's full of trolls, isn't it?
I love that though. Yeah. Well done. Good Irish money.
Well done, mammy.
Lynn McCourt.
I'm gonna go on to that tweet because where it says view 5 previous replies. I'm interested to see what was said in there. But yes, Mrs. McCourt coming out to defend her daughter. Funny enough, I don't think her daughter needs that much defending because she kicks ass.
Yeah.
Badass.
Absolutely. Sean, your Weird and Wonderful News. If anybody ever listened to the former show, obviously Fight Talk, the Weird and Wonderful News was normally related to the dress wear of Max Holloway. No Max Holloway this week.
No, not this week. He's coming up soon in the pay-per-view. I'm sure we get some plenty of Max Holloway coming up.
We sure get some stuff. Listen, this has been a few good fights. This has been episode 1. So, for people who did used to listen to the old podcast, hopefully you stay with us, and thanks for doing that. Loyalty is key. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. We appreciate Brendan Dorman for his time, as always. A few good fights from the MMA movement. Hashtag why don't you join the movement? So hit subscribe. Hashtag join the movement.
That's a very long hashtag.
That doesn't fit.
Yeah, this doesn't fit.
But hit subscribe and the notifications and follow. And as we said at the top of the show, new episodes every Tuesday, dropping at about 1 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon, UK Irish time. But I've been Noel O'Keefe. I lost the debate. I'm upset by it.
You have next
3
week.
champions
But
come back stronger.
Yeah,
As you said, Jeez, I tell you what I'm doing. I'm losing fucking rock, paper, scissors next week anyway, because when you win, you get fucked. And then you have the referee who's already got his opinion made about
Look
the
at
thing.
this guy. He can't even take a loss.
But this has been episode 1. I've been Noel O'Keefe, Robert Palin,
Cheers.
and Sean Taylor.
Thanks.
Gentlemen, it's great to be back in studio. For people, like as I said, who are only tuning in for the first time, this podcast may be new, but we're 3 years doing this. So we appreciate everybody listening in. And if you want, please review us on the likes of iTunes.
Helpful, yeah.
Give us 5 stars. If it's at below 5 stars, don't waste your time. But go and review. Give us feedback. Get involved with the chat. Was I right, DC? Is he the greatest heavyweight? Was Rob right with Fedor? Surely not. But leave your comments. And if you think we should have, email Sean. What's that email again, Sean?
Sean at a few good fights.
Sean had a few good fights while ripping his microphone off the stand.
So yeah,
Need to
Sean
get that email out there.
Sean had a few good fights for any weird news submissions or any topics you want discussed.
But episode 1 is in the books, gentlemen. It's good to be back.
Good to be back. Don't call it a comeback.
See you next Tuesday.